Hello and welcome to SMPD, the podcast where we look back at the cartoons that shaped our childhood. I am Chris Bolton. With me, as always, my cartoon companion, Mr. Mark Williams.
Hello.
And this episode, we are, attempting to be timely, as discussed last week on Who Wins. And we're probably a little bit early with this one, but, Christmas is around the corner. So,
Yeah.
You're about to get a whole fucking bunch of Christmas content from us. So we've stuck our orange. Jesus, I cannot speak tonight. This is going to be
This is going to be fun.
This is going to be one of those episodes, listeners. So far tonight, Skype has played us up. Our audio's played us up. I can't speak. We've both got colds. Fuck it. Let's just carry on. We're talking about 1994's Spider-Man. That intro was just a fucking mess.
That's all right. What's wrong with it? People know us by now.
A whole thing planned about how we were going to tie this in with the upcoming release of No Way Home. And yeah, it's just gone because I feel like shit. Nothing's working. So let's see how this goes, listeners?
Yeah, that'll be fine. I mean, I was quite excited by this one. I mean, this one's been on a list for a while, as have a lot of things. But I mean, this was on Saturday mornings on Live and Kicking. I think they did this and X-Men kind of back to back, didn't they? Mm-hmm. So when they run X-Men, and when they run out of episodes, they put this on, and then they keep alternating them. So this is one I remember quite well, and I hadn't remembered it in so much detail, but I certainly remember like the Venom episodes. That's of the arc. I think everyone remembers that. I remembered Felicia Hardy. So when the games came out, and obviously Black Cat was in the games, there were bits I remembered from that. So this was quite a nice one for me. And then obviously with it all being on Disney Plus, and working from home at the moment, I normally use my TV as a second monitor. Yesterday it was a TV, and I was watching Spider-Man while I was working. Because it's one of those, I'm about to change jobs. I've got very little to fucking do. So I thought, why not? I'll just plod on and go through emails and stuff like that, and try and sort stuff out while I'm watching Spider-Man. So I got through about 9 episodes, which I was quite happy with.
Yeah, I mean, I was quite excited to rewatch this as well. As you say, it came just after X-Men, but before X-Men had finished, if I remember rightly. There was definitely a period where they were both on together.
Yeah.
And especially being a comics kid as well, but always being primarily a DC kid. It was really X-Men that really first started getting me into Marvel. And then along came this in the middle. Now, when I remember distinctly when this aired, didn't know a huge amount about Spider-Man because my heroes was Superman and Batman, and Spider-Man's a thing. It's like Spider-Man's like probably arguably the most famous superhero in the world. I would say probably just behind Superman. Probably Superman is the most famous. I think you ask people to name a superhero, they go Superman, Spider-Man, Batman. Probably that's in that, not necessarily in that order, but those are
in that
the big
order, 9 times out of 10.
Yeah, those are the big three, right? So when this came up, I was a big fan of the X-Men show as well. I was about 13 or 14 by the time this hit over here. It was kind of, I think, 94, 95-ish.
Yeah.
But I didn't give a fuck because it was superheroes. So I was going to watch this anyway.
Yeah.
But it was really, as you said, you remember things like Venom. You remember things like Felicia Hardy, and, characters who, as a culture now, we're all very familiar with. And certainly I am now. But this was and still is, my touchstone for Spider-Man. Essentially, this is where I know my Spider-Man lore from, was this show. And this is the show by which all other Spider-Mens, this is the show by which all other Spider-Man junk is judged, basically. And that's, in rewatching it now, I found good and bad in it, which is interesting.
I was kind of the same. I mean, it was, it's certainly the yardstick in terms of Spider-Man for me. I was the same, brought up on Batman, the Adam West stuff.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
And then like I had some really old. I was given it for my birthday. It was like a video collection of Superman shorts from like the 50s or something. They were fucking atrocious.
Nice. I know exactly the ones you mean, though. I know exactly the ones you mean.
And it's sort of the color. The color room was very graded. It was very noir looking.
Yeah.
As I had it for a birthday, there's only 4 episodes on there. It was a 20-minute tape. It was a complete waste of a tape. But it was brilliant. That was my into Superman, and then say Batman from Adam West. And this was kind of my first thing for Marvel, apart from the fact I had a Captain America in action figure, which was about yay big, and I don't know where the hell it came from. I was just given it. Didn't have a shield. Didn't know. It was just a figure I was given. But that was the only thing I had. And my brother had Doctor Doom. We didn't know where they were from. We didn't know anything about it. It was just they were just figures we had. But yeah, it was all Batman, Superman, and then Spider-Man was kind of the thing. And then on the back of that, I'd seen some X-Men through it was on Live and Kicking or Going Live, whichever one it was at the time. And so I was aware of that, and I watched it. I really enjoyed that, and that was kind of my into these animated Marvel shows.
Yeah, definitely.
Which I didn't really know a great deal about. I mean, I was aware of Marvel Comics. I'd been given some at some point, here and there. So somebody picked one up and read that and shut up. So yeah, this was kind of the main of me. This was the first one where I actually went, oh right, okay, this is like huge. There's like an entire world around us. And in that, I mean, obviously I didn't realize at the time when they were referencing X-Men, I knew what they were. There was a reference to Fantastic Four and Doctor Doom, which I knew Doctor Doom. I knew Captain America, but I didn't know anything about them.
Yeah.
And watching it this time, obviously picking those things up, the entire show is littered with them.
I noticed that as well.
And even like you've got Punishers in there, Doctor Strange is like Doctor
Blade's
Strange
in there. Everybody's in there.
It's one of those. I mean, for the majority of people coming to Marvel from the sort of the cinematic universe had never heard of Doctor Strange.
Yeah, but it's all here.
Show.
That's one of the key things I remembered about this show. I'm still a DC kid at heart, as has been discussed numerous times on this podcast. But my knowledge of Marvel is now pretty good, and that all started here. I know I'll always be a DC kid, but I do also know a fair bit about Marvel comics as well. I have Marvel collections as well, but that all started here because prior to I had watched X-Men and I loved X-Men, and as discussed when we did our X-Men show, I started buying X-Men comics then. But X-Men's always the mutants and the mutant universe is always sort of slightly removed unless we have a big crossover event. The X-Men are kind of over there doing their own thing, as I suspect they're going to be when they eventually inevitably join the MCU. Whereas this was, as you just said, this was kind of the MCU before the MCU existed. Like you watch this show and all of a sudden all of these extra characters have been thrown in there. And so then like 13, 14-year-old me who's reading a shit ton of comics at this point, like mostly DC, but shit ton of comics, is now going, okay, so who's the vampire hunter dude? Because he's cool, and the Punisher like looks cool, and like Fantastic Four and Doctor Doom and all that. They drop in all of these characters in there. Venom, especially as you mentioned, this is my first introduction to Venom and the symbiote suit, and so my interest in Marvel really grew from this show. This was the start. Same. Like if X-Men was the gateway drug that allowed me to get on and watch Spider-Man because I like the X-Men show, this is the one that really like blew open that Marvel universe.
This was the heroine.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, there's good and bad I found in rewatching this. Like I've taken a lot of joy in rewatching it and the way they're introducing not just the wider Marvel universe, but even just Spider-Man's rogues gallery. Like they're all in here, and they do a really good job with some of them as well.
Like I watched the first 8 or 9 episodes yesterday, just because that's all I had time to do. I'm going to go back because I'm in the middle of fucking the Venom arc.
Okay.
So I saw the first 2 of that, and then I think there's a couple more left.
There's only 3.
It's 3, is that?
So you're nearly done with it. No, it's 3.
I mean, I remember that from first. Like that was I think that was actually the first bit I saw was the 3 Venom episodes.
It's certainly the thing I remember about this show. I think everybody does. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, that was so picking through that was great. And I mean, I can't remember what I was talking about. But yes, I mean, this is. I've been the same. I've taken this on and gone, right. Okay, I'm gonna watch it. I wanted to watch more. Yes, it didn't get time. But actually, the Rose Gallery from episode 1. Right the way through, there's we're going to introduce Lizard in this one, but we're going to introduce these side characters, these secondary characters as well. So you get all this stuff, and then you get the one with the Spider Slayer robots, and also you introduce Flash Thompson, you introduce to Felicia Hardy, Harry Osborn. You're introduced to all these people that from various later iterations, but they're right here right on Front Street. And so right, okay, that's great. And then you go into you go into the others. You go into Scorpion. You go into Mysterio. Interestingly, actually, I was thinking about this yesterday. I had a Game Boy game as well, which was really fucking hard. I seem to remember because I would have been quite young at the time. But that kind of followed the same thing. It was this sort of time, and it was you had Mysterio, you had Scorpion, you had Rhino. I didn't get any further than that, so you probably had others in there as well. not in the way that you have the games now, where you have this big sweeping story arc, and you start, you work your way through it. It was just level. At the end of every level, there's a boss, and the boss is Rhino or it's Vulture or whoever.
Yeah.
And so I was thinking about that yesterday, and at some point of the weekend, I'm going to go and dig out my my Game Boy from down at my parents' house, because it's there somewhere, or I'm going to fucking murder people.
Yeah.
And the game will be with it. So I mean, watching this yesterday, this did bring an awful lot of stuff back, both from watching it the first time and from the game and stuff as well. I mean, I was really impressed with certain elements of it. There are bits that really annoyed me.
Me too, and I'm sure we'll get onto those.
Yeah, I'm sure we will. I mean, in terms of story, I thought it was mainly pretty tight.
The story's very tight. I think the big problem with it, to come on to the first big problem then, because story is it. Story's very tight. The problem with this is it feels like, and I don't know why, because this wasn't a problem in X-Men, but it feels like whoever's really setting this up, whoever's sat around the table in the writer's room here, like we haven't quite figured out how to adapt a comic into live action yet, or into animation at this point, because these are literally comic book stories that have just been animated. And there's something to be said for that. As I've said in this show before, I've written papers on exactly that. But the problem is, narratively, what that leads you with is some absolutely atrocious dialogue. And I don't know if you found the same thing, but what annoyed me so much was that, with X-Men, it's not so bad because there are a team of superheroes there that can have a conversation about themselves. But Spider-Man spends a lot of time on his own. So there is a lot of massive chunks of expository dialogue, which we're used to reading on a comic book page, because you'll get a thought bubble. So you'll get Spider-Man talking to himself in a thought bubble, and that's something you're conditioned to accept. You're not conditioned to have him constantly quipping to himself and amusing himself whilst he's sort of swinging himself around New York, and that really grated on me.
That bugged me. The whole, I mean, the spider puns and even the story puns, they were fine. I love a good pun, you know that. But it was just that puns only work if you're talking to somebody else.
Exactly. It feels like he's just amusing himself, and then it's not just the puns either. It's the massive narrative beats. And this was a thing of cartoons in the 80s as well, but that was just because our writing wasn't sophisticated enough. But by the early and mid 90s, we'd moved away from that in animation. We did have some much more sophisticated writing. We'd had a lot of the Disney stuff by now as well. We'd had X-Men, which handles this stuff much better as well. Yes, they're still guilty of some slight overemphasis with the dialogue, and they're slightly grandiose, but they certainly don't have this kind of massive chunks of exposition where you'll have like Spider-Man swinging through New York going, oh well, I better get home before Aunt May gets kidnapped by the Scorpion, or else there'll be hell to pay. And so we know, we
get the stakes,
we get it, we're smart. You don't have to, and there's a lot of that. There is a lot of really exposition heavy dialogue, which again you get in a comic book because you'll get it in a box out or you'll get it in a thought bubble, and that's fine in a comic book. But it feels like it's such a literal adaptation, and they've done it with story arcs as well. You see Stan Lee credited as a writer on some of these as well, because they've so heavily just lifted a story arc completely.
And again, I mean, that in and of itself, doing that is fine, because that's what the source material is. But I mean, we've talked about this a lot on Game of Thrones. If you're doing an adaptation, adapt it. Actually, exactly. put the work in and do it. Don't just go, right, well, I'll lift it from here, drop it in there, I'll reformat it, and I'll take out the words I don't need, and it'll be fine.
And I think it's worse. It's odd. This is a bit of a juxtaposition, really, but I think it's worse because it's animation. I think had this been a live action show at the time, it would be even more eye rolling. But you'd sort of, I think I'd cut it more slack, because I think I would cut it as much slack as well. Maybe they just don't understand. But here it just feels like somebody's gone, well, those are drawings.
This is drawing.
And these are drawings. So
Same
we
thing.
Just make those drawings move. But it doesn't work like that. It doesn't. You have to be more sophisticated in the narrative and the writing. And look, we have to remember as well, this is very much pitched pitched to kids. This
Yeah.
isn't an adult show by any stretch. Adults can enjoy it as we have.
Yeah.
This was pitched to kids. So, you know, and especially for me as a kid as well, that went straight over my head. I didn't clock any of this. I was just like, it was like watching a comic. So that's absolutely fine. But coming to it now as an adult, that great. And you kind of, you also picked up on something else that really annoyed me. And it's surprising, actually. And I think it's only come out in the rewatching. But this version of Spider-Man, this version of Peter Parker will, just like, you know, when we talk about Batman and we say that Kevin Conroy is our Batman, this will always be my Spider-Man. Okay, so when we get other iterations of Spider-Man, this is what I compare it to. This is who I've compared Tobey Maguire to. This is who I've compared Andrew Garfield to. This is who I've compared Tom Holland to. And every time, like I've always been looking for this. However, what I've been looking for is this real kind of smart ass, wisecracking, because that's who he is here. This is a not fully grown, but this is an adult Peter Parker,
he's a
college kid. Right, he's more world weary, for instance, than Spider-Man we currently have in the MCU now. He's certainly less dour than Tobey Maguire's, you know, and I think probably the closest we got. No, probably the closest we got to this was Andrew Garfield's.
Yeah.
I thought he did really well with the wisecrack, but actually watching this now, I'm watching it go, do you know what? I don't fucking like this Spider-Man at all.
Yeah, that
I
was,
much prefer Tom Holland's version.
I was wondering where you were going with it, because that was kind of my thought yesterday. Is that the character? The character is a departure from what we had in the MCU, and in the games as well. I mean, in the games,
very much so.
The games tend to, from the way I've looked at it, the games tend to have been a bit of an amalgam of Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield. They've kind of melded the two. They haven't really gone into Tom Holland at all, but they certainly overlooked this guy. And yeah, that was. I had a similar thought. I was thinking when I was watching yesterday, this guy ain't all that. No, whereas you look at Kevin Conroy, and his portrayal of Batman and Bruce Wayne. It's iconic, but it nails the character absolutely perfectly. Whereas this one, it's like this one. It's almost as if the writer's gone, well, I know some kids, or I'm still young. I'm gonna make him a bit like me, and make him quippy and all the rest of it. But he just happens to swing off a web and kick people's ass.
Yeah, it's almost the Steve Buscemi meme, isn't it? Of,
yeah.
Hey, kids, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's almost, and I think actually again that comes down to this has been lifted direct from the page in some instances, and again that rapid fire quipping that he's doing, it doesn't grate quite as much on the page because you have the gutter and you have the white space to space that out, and you can kind of allow that to go in your own time. Whereas when it's just he's a constant fucking gag machine, as he is in this, it feels like, and let's not forget, like the whole central premise of Spider-Man is that the weight of the world is always on his shoulders. Like with great power comes great responsibility. That is the central theme of Spider-Man. Yeah. And you feel that with the three that we've just mentioned. You feel it with all of them. You feel like if they don't just man up and get this shit done, then the world is going to fall apart. Yeah, and there's going to be real tragic personal consequences for them. You don't get that here at all, because even when people are in peril and he's got to go and save them, he's cracking wise. And so look, there is a time for that, and I appreciate that. And like that's one of the things I like about Spider-Man as a character, is he is funny. But there is a time and a place for it.
I was going to say it's there's gravitas when it's needed. I mean, the one thing I will say for it is that for all of the wisecracking that he does, the supporting cast do some heavy lifting. I mean, especially Felicia Hardy. Some of the work that comes out of her, and the character of her, and I think it's the second Venom episode where Peter turns up at the college. He's in a suit, and him and Flash are about to kick each other's asses. And you get this real thing of, I don't know who you are, but you're scaring me. And you don't expect that sort of weight and that sort of heft, because what you've had in the previous 7-8 episodes is the kid equivalent of knob gags. Yeah,
and that's the problem, isn't it? I don't think there's so much of an issue with the performances. I don't think the performance is particularly bad. I think it's in the writing. Yeah, it's just rapid fire gag, and like if you look at. This is a really unfair comparison, because I think not just to compare this as a Spider-Man show to it, but I think to compare pretty much any superhero movie within the last 10 years or so, Endgame excluded. But if you compare it to Into the Spider-Verse, and you look at the way Peter Parker's treated in that, you know, and that's another gag machine, Peter Parker, particularly at the start, but he's not as grating as this because there's still some world weariness to him, and there's still some gravity, and that's what's missing. And again, you mentioned the games, the Insomniac games, you get the same thing. Like, yes, he's full of quips, but when the story gets personal late in the game, like, that dials all the way back, and we dial into the, and again, like, props where he's due, and I really don't think he got enough of it. That's something I think Andrew Garfield's iteration really brought to the forefront, was the balance between it. I think he nailed that really, really well. And it's something Tom Holland is doing as well, don't get me wrong, but I think that was, like, that balance was struck the best, I think, in those Andrew Garfield movies. But yeah, those were the two things that really rubbed up against me. I was like, I really don't like this Spider-Man.
And which is
really
a bit of a
don't
problem.
like this dialogue. Right?
I mean, the only other thing that really pissed me off, and it's no fault of anybody's, was the upscaling. Because you had so many frames where things didn't line up.
I can't say I noticed, but then I've watched most of it on a mobile phone.
I was watching it. Literally, I had the TV 18 inches from my face, so it would be fine. Anything wide was fine. As soon as you went in close, eyes weren't level, or you'd have a line underneath an eye which wasn't supposed to be there, and things like that. Just because the way they've upscaled it and rendered it again, it hasn't converted properly. Right, and that's no fault of the shows. It's no fault of the makers. That's purely just, it was drawn on the cheap in the early 90s, and now it's 2021, and Disney have got, we own that, chuck it on.
I mean, my thoughts on upscaling old shows have been covered many, many times on this show and every other one on our network. Like, they were shot a particular way, just leave them. Give it, like, scrub it and give us the best version you can, but don't.
Yeah, well, that's it. I mean, they haven't.
With the aspects.
They haven't fucked the ratios or anything like that. They haven't tried to do that. They've left it in 4:3. But it's just that where they've tried to click, it's obviously when it was recorded on the media, it was recorded on, the resolution wasn't there. So to try and stick it up in HD now, it just doesn't work. And it's a fault. And realistically, they'd be better off, I said, leaving it as it is. People will look at this and go, right, this was 1994. We're not expecting it to be 4K.
No.
They'll be expecting it to be grainy as all fuck. They'll be expecting the animation to be quite judgery and all the rest of it. So leave it at that. Let people get what they're expecting, because at least that way you're not spoiling the experience. I mean, there was one scene, I think it was the Spider Slayer one, where he takes Aunt May to the ball.
Yeah, that's the Spider Slayers. Yeah.
And there's a scene between the two of them where they're talking, and literally her mouth is moving in one direction, her eyes are looking somewhere else. His mouth is moving at the same time. And none of it quite matches, and it's just like, for fuck's sake. And then you get, when one of them's not talking, then an eyebrow's up here, and an eye is over there, and it just looks like they've tried to tidy it up, and it's gone horribly, horribly wrong.
I mean, have they, or is it just that it was poorly animated?
I don't know.
I
don't know. I can't quite tell, but it's something that there were certain frames didn't bother me at all. Certain frames were done really well. Anything outside was good. Anything where mouths weren't moving was really good. It's like the eye. You get the eyes on the suit moving and stuff like that. That's all fine. But there were just some. I said, what the fuck is going on with that? And
I honestly can't say I noticed.
For all of that, there were some really nice touches. I think it might be in the first episode or maybe the second episode. There was a really nice pull focus, which you never get on animation because you don't need it.
No, I mean, this was the early days of CG as well. Like, there are loads of computer generated shots in this. Like, it feels like any opportunity they could have to computer generate something, they would do it.
Yeah, it's like somebody just bought one of these new Apple machines. Quick, what can we do with it?
What can we do with it? Yeah, so all that kind of stuff. I'm sure they were just experimenting with everything they possibly could.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think the animation's decent. I don't think it's brilliant, but I think it's decent for most of it. Certainly, I mean, it looks really colourful still, which is nice as well. It looks like a comic book come to life. It very much, just the whole thing reminded me of, like, this is just a comic book on my screen. And look, I'm fine with that, but that wasn't what I was expecting. I wanted an adaptation of Spider-Man, because if I want to read a Spider-Man comic, I've got half a dozen behind me in omnibus format. I'll go and pick one of those up and I'll read those. I don't necessarily need to see them move. I can do that.
I think that was the thing that struck me with it, is that like we talked about X-Men quite a while ago now, but that was for me one of the key differences, is that felt like an adaptation. That felt like, right, okay, we've got a story to tell, and it's not the same as the way it's written, because it can't, because there are too many moving parts, and especially where you look at some of the bigger things you had in that.
Look at Phoenix Saga, for instance.
Yeah.
That's still the closest I think anybody's come to adapting the Phoenix Saga, but it's still not right.
It's not perfect,
still,
but it's
no.
It's
by not right, I don't mean it's
else.
bad. What I mean is it's not a direct adaptation. Still, there are parts of that, which have been changed, and especially with X-Men, it's not mature by any means, but it is one of Marvel's more mature titles. There are some themes in there that could be lost on a very young audience. So again, with the show, there are a lot of things that changed because they had to be changed. But in general as well, it felt like a serialized Saturday morning cartoon action show. It didn't feel like a sort of 4-issue run of a comic book. That, like the Venom saga is a prime example of that with this, or the Alien saga, I think they call it, or something like that.
It's the alien suit or something like that.
The alien suit, and it's literally just 3 issues of a comic, basically.
Yeah, just the alien costume. Sorry.
Yeah, and you even get it in. And look, I'm actually going to praise this. This kind of flies in the face a little bit what I was saying, but I'm going to praise this as well. There's a lot, particularly with early Marvel writing, and this was a Stan Lee philosophy that's kind of made its way through a lot of early Marvel writing. They don't do it so much now, but Stan's philosophy was always that everybody's comic book is somebody's first comic book, right? Yeah. So some kid's always going to go in and pick up Spider-Man at issue 94 or whatever and just be like, what the fuck is this? I just like the colouring on the front. And so there was always a recap of what had gone on, and there was always a recap of who Peter Parker is, and being bitten by the radioactive spider, and Uncle Ben, and how the spider senses work. And it's throwaway. It's very quick. It's all, but again, it's just an expository passage that would be in there, normally quite close to the front of the book, but it would be worked into the narrative. In some cases, it would be as a prologue. Sometimes you get a box out that says, Peter Parker's actually Spider-Man, and this. But that is there in every episode. Yeah. And again, it's like, look, that's good if you do happen to dip in the middle of things, and I think they weave it into their narrative fairly well without it sounding clunky every time. But by God, when you like, I did actually watch quite a lot of these back to back. I did binge quite a few of them. By the time you've heard it for the 4th or 5th time in a sitting, you're like, okay, we get it. Like we get, the thing is, there's such an easy way out of that. Again, if you're going to serialize this and if you're going to adapt it, put it in the fucking credits. Yeah. Just do a voiceover in the credits. I'm a big fan of that. We talk about it every time we talk about theme tunes. I love it when you give me all of the prologue. Like if you give me the backstory up front and then a kick-ass theme, like all about that, you can do it.
Especially now because you can skip it. Once you've seen it once, it's skip.
But you know what? 9 times out of 10, I probably wouldn't. Like something like Ulysses, Jace, anything like that, where we're getting all the story front loaded and then into the theme song. I'll watch it every time, because that's what makes those theme songs iconic. Yeah. He-Man, same thing. Like we were talking about a lot about Revelations last week again, because part 2 has just dropped, but that sent me down the He-Man rabbit hole this week as well. And like when you watch back the early episodes of He-Man and you get, fabulous secret powers were revealed to me when I held my magic, and you get it every episode. Yeah. And that's part of the show. It's almost like it's Pavlovian at that point. Yeah. Yeah, because when that's done, it's getting you pumped up, it's getting you excited. When that's done, you're into the show. Yeah. But they don't do that here. They kind of weave it into it. And as I say, they do handle it pretty well, I think. It's just that, like, come on, guys. You don't have to literally... they've almost Game of Thrones'd it, where they've literally just gone, we are going to adapt this word for fucking word. Yeah. Like, we're just going to... Everything. We're just going to put it all on the screen, Sometimes that elicits a good response from me, like Mary Jane's first appearance, where she does "Face It, Tiger," you just hit the jackpot, and you're like, yes, amazing, right? Okay, you did, you couldn't have not done that, but you did, and you did it really well. And then other times, it's so eye rolling that you just come on, guys, really. Yeah, I mean, I've got to be honest, I sat here for a good 4 or 5 hours yesterday while I was working with it on. And nothing, even the iffy dialogue and the questionable upscaling animation, wherever it was that went wrong, none of it rubbed me up so badly. I was like, oh, fuck this, I've had enough. Oh, me either.
And
No.
that was kind of that was what I was worried about. We've seen so many of these shows where you go back to it and go, holy fuck balls, what am I doing? And
it's not that, is it?
It's not that. And there are issues with it. You're right. And so I mean, I haven't seen as much as I would have liked to, and I will be going back to do at least a couple more episodes because I want to do the I want to finish Venom and I want to do Hobgoblin as well, which is the next two. So I mean, I'll certainly watch another 3 episodes probably tomorrow. But it's something that you look at and go, right, okay, it's decent, and there's a nostalgia attached to it because I say that this was my into to Spider-Man and to Marvel. But actually, and I may be unpopular for saying this because they do, there are a lot of people who don't agree, but I actually think for what we're getting now in terms of the MCU, I don't know. A lot of these old shows don't really add anything anymore. I'm not really I'm not going back to them thinking, well, yeah, this is clearly better.
Oh, it's not better.
Because the writing has evolved, the performances have evolved, the characters have evolved, and they evolve within the MCU as well. So I don't need to be going back for other versions. And I think this is, I mean, I've talked about this many times on this show. The whole thing with multiverses and we have the Amazing Spider-Man and the Super Spider-Man and the Amazing Super Spider-Man and the Super Amazing Spider-Man, all this sort of stuff. And yes, okay, they said, right, okay, well, we know what it is, and we know we're leaning into multiverses, and which they've done in the comics, and they go for that. They really did sort of think, well, fuck it, when they did Make the Spider-Verse. I was like, well, fuck it, everybody knows it's there, so let's play with it and see what we can do with it. But I'm at a point now where I'm not really looking for that many alternate versions because there are enough on the screen anyway, and some are good, some are bad. I mean, if you go back to sort of the 80s, the 80s iteration we had, it was 81, I think. No, the adaptation we had there was absolutely fucking woeful.
Yeah.
No, and similarly to like the Captain America live action thing they did at the time. There's a Spider-Man one, which is basically a guy crawling on the floor, and they've tipped the camera on his side.
I remember it well. Which is probably why I didn't really take to Spider-Man as a kid, because that was shit.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, it's that, there's that type of stuff around, and because they've kind of embraced it, going, well, yeah, it's a multiverse, and in that universe he's shit, and in this one he's like a god, and in this one he's a wisecracking teenager, and in this one he's like 45. They've lent into it, and that's fine. That really works. But it's just at some point you got to think, well, enough's enough. I don't need any more.
Yeah, I think fatigue is definitely a thing that's creeping in with a lot of these adaptations. It certainly is for me, and I think it is for a lot of the general public as well. Sadly, it seems that this is going off topic, but sadly, it seems that projects like Eternals and WandaVision seem to have suffered for that in some cases, whereas actually they tend to be the ones that are breaking the mold at the moment. Eternals specifically cracks the Marvel mold wide open. It's not a 3-act structure for a start, which I normally hate. But anyway, this isn't an Eternal podcast. I thought it was very, very good, and it's got a really bad rap. But yes, fatigue is a thing that is setting in for people, and so like going back and watching these then when it's already not the best version of a thing.
Yeah.
And it isn't. And I wanted it to be because that's how I remember. But for instance, we've done it on this show already, and I've done it again since, and we'll do it again in the future. If I were to go back and do a rewatch of any chunk of Batman the Animated Series now, if I were to reach behind me and pull the DVDs and put them on now, it would still be the best version of Batman that's ever been on screen.
Yeah.
And that, so I could go back and watch that, and that's absolutely fine. It's not going to annoy me. Whereas this is annoying me because this is no longer the best version of Spider-Man. So why am I watching it? Like, what is the point? Why bother?
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I was feeling watching, despite the fact I've still watched. I think I'm nearly through that first season. I don't know how many episodes I've done. I'm certainly further on than you are. Yeah. So I've watched quite a lot of it, but all the time I'm watching it going, yeah, this is okay. And I don't dislike it, but in the back of my head, I'm just going like, but I could be watching much better versions of Spider-Man than this.
Yeah.
So why am I not? Like, even if I wanted animated Spider-Man, I could just go and put Into the Spider-Verse on, and that's a much better Spider-Man product than this is.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, I think as well, one of the things that did it for me, or that spoiled it for me, was that I was looking at this, and you mentioned the introduction of Mary Jane. I think that the way that Mary Jane's portrayed, certainly performance, they absolutely nail that character.
Yeah.
And then you compare that to certainly Kirsten Dunst's version, which is a very saccharine, very watered down version.
Yes.
And you're thinking, hang on, I've got a better product over here, but this one is, I want to see more of this character. I want to see this Mary Jane.
Yeah.
Not that one. And it's trying to reconcile those two, because I agree. I think this Spider-Man product, this series, is not anywhere near as good as any of the 3 film iterations.
No, not even a patch.
I mean, at the time, I'd certainly say it was the best of anything that came before.
Yeah, and at the time, if we were talking about this in the early 2000s, I'd probably still be telling you this was better than all of the films that we'd had at that point as well. And prior to watching it, I was even thinking I might prefer this to the current films as well, because that's what, as I say, this was the yardstick. This is what my memories tell me, and like you, I have a strong nostalgic connection to it as well, not just because it was a gateway into the wider Marvel universe, but yes, I had a Super Nintendo game as well that was Spider-Man, but linked to this, so there was that, and then you had all the other merch that went with it as well. So there's a whole period in time that's associated with this, and I'd forgotten. I'm going to go off and take us off topic slightly now, but I've already gone down this road, and I've forgotten what we were talking about. But I've had a bigger nostalgia kick with this than I've had with anything for quite a long time, because I'd actually, believe it or not, forgotten this theme tune. I don't know how I'd forgotten this theme tune.
Yeah.
But as soon as it started, it just absolutely just had me immediately. As soon as that theme tune started, and all week I have been wandering around going Spider-Man, in the weird computer generated voice.
Yeah.
And it's like, and you got the theme running through your head as well, which isn't quite the classic Spider-Man theme that we know from the older show, but is almost it. It's like
it's almost it, but I think
it.
I was going to say it riffs on it, but I think it kind of fits more with the period, and also what we had with the X-Men.
Oh, definitely, it's a fucking fantastic theme too.
Yeah,
it really
and I mean,
is.
I think that was something certainly they kind of played for, and so the fact we did get these crossover episodes. So we got crossovers with X-Men. We did get we did get this very heavy leaning on all the other Marvel products and all the other Marvel characters. Well, hang on, I'm Spider-Man and I'm in New York. Iron Man's in New York. Captain America's in New York. All this sort of stuff. You think, well, fuck it, why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
And it's and obviously there are issues around with the films around licensing and stuff like that. They haven't been able to do certain things until certain points and stuff like that. So I get that. But the whole thing of all of the MCU and all of Marvel is that it's a shared universe, and they're all in it. So why wouldn't you be referencing X-Men? Why wouldn't you be referencing Iron Man and all these other characters? Because they're a thing in this world. And if they can't be a thing, then none of it works anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
So I mean, I think that the fact that we get that in this show, where I don't remember getting an X-Men apart from the crossovers we had with Spider-Man.
Yeah, there are. We do get other MCU characters pop into X-Men, but as I said, as a book, like the mutants tend to be their own thing anyway. Like unless we have a big crossover event, and unless we're getting something like House of X or Civil War or something like that, the mutants tend to be over there doing their own thing, because those storylines in themselves are so intricate and yet so massive. Like they're almost a huge contradictory thing. Like you get these tightly woven threads because there's so many characters, but the storylines themselves in X-Men are absolutely, it is huge apocalyptic world-ending stuff most of the time. Yeah. Which if you allow the wider universe in, you have the DC problem then. Yeah. And Marvel isn't geared up for that. Like DC is, because Superman tends to take most of his shit off-world. All right. If an alien comes, it's Superman's problem. Other than that, it's fucking Batman or someone else's problem. But because the MCU is so grounded, if you start bringing these cataclysmic world-ending events into the wider MCU, you just go, but the Avengers will sort that out. Yeah. Well, why do we need the X-Men? They'll sort that out. So it kind of has to be from a narrative point of view. Whereas, to say, DC handle that much better because they tend to deal on a cosmic scale more, if you like. Yeah. Then there is a lot more sort of gods and monsters in DC basically than there is in Marvel. So they're able to expand that and come up with all these various ways why actually Superman can't deal with it this week. But Marvel's not able to do that because it tries so hard to ground itself, which is ridiculous. Because we're talking about fucking people who've been bitten by radioactive spiders, right? But it does, to its credit, try really hard to ground itself. That's the thing. And so that's why X-Men has to be slightly removed, I think. But anyway, off fucking topic again. Well, no, it's not really, because
it's all kind of like
whereas with this, they've got the opportunity to blow that wider open, because this is more like he's in New York, so we can have ground level threats like the Punisher. oh, we can have like serious world-ending threats, like when Doctor Strange shows up, or like when Venom comes in because the fucking space shuttle's crashed.
Yeah.
So you've got a good balance of that, and that, yeah, then you can weave the Fantastic Four into that, and you can weave Captain America and Iron Man and all of these into it as well. And like you said, it's a good introduction to those characters as well. Iron Man, I did know about because I distinctly remember the really, really, really old Iron Man cartoon. I think it must have been from like the 70s. That, much like you, I had a video with a bunch of these Iron Man cartoons on, and they were really fucking good. They were only like 5 minutes long, terribly animated, but I just remember having this video with a bunch of Iron Man cartoons. So that I knew about. So I wasn't surprised to see him show up. But like Captain America, like I could give a fuck about. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, especially to us over here, you're like, well,
yeah,
what's Captain America got to fucking do with this? Plus, he looks ridiculous.
Yeah.
So it's not like, you know, so a lot of these characters meant nothing to me until the wider universe was explained to me in this show. And then I'm like, oh, okay, right. So now I know who he is. And incidentally, that I still say to this day, that is the greatest triumph of the MCU, is making me give a fuck about Steve Rogers. Like, that's the absolute best trick the MCU's managed to pull. Most boring character ever, but not in the MCU. So there you go. Anyway,
I don't know if you've seen the opening of Hawkeye yet.
Yes, I have.
But,
with
yeah, absolutely fucking genius.
Yeah, the show in general, I'm very much enjoying. But yeah, I mean, there's a good comparison there as well. You know, like the way, again, not WandaVision, because it was his own thing, and actually so was Loki for that matter as well. But certainly Hawkeye and Falcon and the Winter Soldier have done this exact thing that we're talking about very well as well. They've managed to sort of knit in these wider elements of the universe within this serialized kind of action show. But they've done it by adapting things themselves. You know, those characters are as you remember them, but they're just slightly tweaked. Saying that, the jury's out on Hawkeye because it's awfully similar to the Matt Fraction run. But we'll see where they go with it. But yeah, certainly Falcon and the Winter Soldier, you know, you can see elements of adaptation in there. Whereas this, literally, they just go, here's a Spider-Man story. I'm going to draw it and it will move.
Yeah.
And that's what you've got. And if you've never read those stories before, as I hadn't, I guess, first time out as a kid, I'm like, oh yeah, this is cool. I don't know what's happening here. Now, I know these stories inside out and back to front. So watching them now, it's kind of like, yeah, but I can
read them.
It. Yeah, and it's better.
And this is the thing, and I mean, as they've progressed, and as certainly Marvel, but I mean, even where DC have gone in and they've done their animated features and stuff, and they've evolved to a point where, like, they know that people are smart. They know that people watching it will know who these characters are. Because I don't know, even if they're watching it for the first time, you pick up very quickly who Spider-Man is, who Superman is, who the Flash is, and that's all fine. But it's like at this point, it's like we're at the very start. Now these are the things that first came out of the ooze, and the primordial swamp is still dripping off them because it's just like, what do you mean it's not just a moving comic book? What do you mean we've got to do something different? What do you mean you need nuance and subtlety and all the rest of it? And yeah, I think that's possibly where this is let down. And if somebody were to look at this product now and say, well, okay, well, no, we want to make a Spider-Man series. We're going to have 100 episodes or whatever it is. So we're going to do this, and we're going to. These are the sources we're going to use. We're going to do this arc. We're going to do this arc. You would say, right, okay, rather than just doing it as blocks of stories, so rather than this three issue run being an episode, you say, right, we'll do this three issue run as an episode, but we're also going to start borrowing themes from elsewhere, so we can carry them through, and you start building, and you build your whole franchise around it, rather than just going, right, here's this story which was in these 3 issues or 4 issues, or whatever it is, make that. And if somebody looking at it now, I mean, because of the writing of the way that these things are written now is so much more sophisticated, because people are more aware of structure and story and how you do adaptations, then actually you would get a far better product, I think. And were you to look at this now, you probably would get something that would rival the films and into the Spider-Verse, because it would be done in such a way that actually meant it. Whereas this kind of feels like they're just phoning in and going, oh, well, yeah, Spider-Man's popular. Everyone knows Spider-Man. Yeah, let's just make a show out of it. And it doesn't really work. And that's for me, that was the big disappointment going back to it, is that it's not what I wanted it to be, because I've had so much better.
It's exactly that. It's exactly that. And I think you hit the nail on the head there. I think this is literally, X-Men's really fucking popular. Everybody loves this show. What's more popular than X-Men? Spider-Man, obviously. We haven't got Superman and Batman, so it's got to be Spider-Man, isn't it?
Yeah.
And obviously, it did work. We've said we have an amazing sense of nostalgia for it. There's things like the game, even like Universal Studios. I'm a big theme park guy. When you go over there, like the initial iteration of the Spider-Man ride, it's been updated now, but the initial iteration of that looked exactly like the animation in this. It was these versions of the characters.
Yeah.
So I carry a lot of baggage with it, and I think what's really disappointing is, and we've compared it to the film so many times, and it's inevitable to do so because they're all adaptations. But like even going back and watching these now, and I've said like I can read these stories, but even if I want to see a Green Goblin arc, then I'll go and watch Sam Raimi's movies because they do it better than this. And if I want to see a Dr. Octopus arc, like again Sam Raimi movies, but more importantly, the Insomniac game does that storyline incredibly well and does some new stuff with it. And I just don't think that'll be bettered as a Doc Ock arc. I'll be honest. I think they managed to nail that perfectly. All right, Venom still hasn't been done properly in any other. This is still the best version of the symbiote storyline. Because goddamn, Spider-Man 3 is a fucking mess. Although I distinctly remember enjoying it at the time. But
this is it. I did the Better Mario episode with Jonathan Dunn on Spider-Man 3, and don't get me wrong, it was one of those that there were bits I enjoyed in Spider-Man 3. I will be honest.
I remember us defending it like to the hilt against a good friend of ours and saying, no, it was good, it was fine, apart from the dancing. And it is fine, apart from the dancing and the horrendous addition of Venom in the last 10 minutes.
You're right. I think the Venom storyline it's ripe for doing properly. I think the Tom Hardy vehicle we've got at the moment, it's trying too hard to be an off-brand Spider-Man rather than being Venom.
I haven't seen the second one, and I saw the first one on an aeroplane, so I just cannot judge it. It was cut to shit, and I know it was. Like the runtime when I watched it was like 70 something minutes.
Oh yeah,
I assumed it was that because it was just shit.
No, I watched it. I've got to be honest. After we did the Spider-Man 3 episode, I went out and rented it. Did I rent it? Oh, it might have been on a streaming service for free. Oh, not included. I have since bought it because it was like $1.99 on iTunes. So I was like, well, fuck it, I've got everything else. I might as well throw it in. Haven't watched it since, but it's one of those that they try too hard to make something out of the character that's not there.
Yeah,
and it's just like, well, hang on, you need them. If you're adapting it, fine, but adapt it in a way that's remotely faithful, or at least has some essence of the character. It doesn't look like the same character, and that's the big problem. That was the big problem for me with the film. I haven't seen the second one, but that was the problem with the first one, is that it wasn't telling the symbiote suit story, and it wasn't really doing anything different.
Yeah.
It wasn't telling that story, but it wasn't doing anything different with it either. It was just like, oh, we're carrying on with more of the same, and it's just he's a decent guy. He's down in his luck, and now he's got this suit, but all of a sudden the suit's trying to kill him. Premise is great, execution not so much.
Yeah, there's something. Look, Venom needs Spider-Man. It's as simple as that. And at the time when they first started making it, they didn't know if they could pull this kind of shit off. If they'd have waited, maybe we could have had a Venom origin story in a Spider-Man movie, and then that could have spun off. But the problem is, like, so they made him an anti-hero, which is fine. That happens in the books now and again as well. He is an anti-hero now. He's full-on anti-hero. But like, we don't have the flip side of the coin. Like what you get here in the symbiote saga here is you get the whole, well, Eddie Brock fucking hated Peter Parker before he even got the symbiote. So so they work. They're mirror images of each other. And so if you don't have that, then there's nothing that makes Venom interesting as a character other than he looks cool, because he looks like evil mutant Spider-Man, basically. Spider-Man crossed with an alien, basically. But you're missing the heart of it. It's the problem. So there is. I really want to say good things about this show. Is the thing. Like, I don't think it's bad. Still, I just think I'm watching it now, going, yeah, but there's so much better out there. And like, I couldn't, for instance, like now with kids now, if you wanted to get a kid Spider-Man now, like if you wanted to show your kid Spider-Man now, you wouldn't show them this now.
No,
this has been surpassed. by far. This is just left in the dust. Now, X-Men, on the other hand, or Batman, as we were saying, I would probably still go back to those animated versions. Like I like the Fox X-Men movies, fine, the original ones anyway.
Yeah.
And the first two, like First Class and the first sequel, they were fine as well. When they did Days of Future Past, they were fine. It was only from Age of Apocalypse 4 where they started to get shitty. But they were fine. Like to me, the definitive version of X-Men is still the cartoon.
I mean, I was going to say, I mean, they're not the cartoon, and they were never going to be as good as the cartoon. But actually, I will put my flag in the sand here. I do own them all, and I don't rub up against them. Oh fucking hell, that's awful. No, they're not brilliant by any stretch of the imagination.
No, but they're not terrible.
But
and some of them are good.
Yeah, no, they're superhero movies that yes, okay, some of the stories aren't brilliant, but it's still I still want to see what these characters are doing. And yes, okay, Dark Phoenix, was it Dark Phoenix? The last one's called.
Still haven't seen it, but yeah, they did Dark Phoenix again.
Yeah, wasn't amazing, got to be honest. But it's still an X-Men movie that I could sit through and watch without throwing myself off a bridge. It's not horrendous.
I mean, for me, you've got to fuck X-Men up pretty bad for me to not watch it. Like, you've really got to fuck it up.
That was kind of my thing. Like, I mean, we had a slight break in recording a couple of years ago when I lost my voice, and that's when I sat down and watched them all. I literally sat down and bought them all on iTunes. I had the first three on, like the original three on DVD anyway. But I sat down and said, fuck it, I'm going to buy them all. Didn't have a DVD player in the house at the time, so I'll just buy them all, watch them all in one go. And that's how I spent a Saturday.
Yeah.
And I didn't regret a second of it.
No, they're fine.
Apart from when my ass cheek went to sleep.
And when you get the line about the toad in the first one. But
yeah, but no, by the time I'd finished, I'd forgotten about that because I was like hours removed.
Yeah. But, they're fine. But again, if you're going to introduce somebody to X-Men, you go,
it's
look at this cartoon. And we're getting a continuation of that cartoon now, much like Disney Plus did with the Clone Wars, and I'm super excited for them to be picking up where that cartoon left off. I wouldn't be super excited if they picked this Spider-Man back up. I'd just be like, don't bother. Just give me a new version of Spider-Man now that's more in tune with what we got in the MCU, because actually that is a far more likable character than this version of Spider-Man. And or even, like say, the version that we get in the Insomniac game, far more likable as well. And he's cracking wise everywhere, but when he needs to, he knows to put a fucking lid on it. Or look, and I know, all right, it has been done anyway, but if you're going to do it now realistically, like kids today don't give a shit about Peter Parker anyway, so just do a Miles Morales show. But the point is we don't need any of those because now we have a perfectly good adaptation in the MCU.
Yeah.
And then we have got new Marvel animated shows as well. I've seen them all on Disney Plus. I just haven't bothered watching them.
Yeah.
I'm interested in Hulk and the Agents of Smash just because it sounds good.
I've seen that. It was on like ITV2 a while ago, and I picked up the odds of 10 minutes here and stuff. Where I was channel surfing, and there are quite a lot of good stuff, quite a lot of good shows out there. And they've clearly spent the time, spent the money. But then for every one of those you get, there are some short projects they've done where they look good, but there's no story to them.
Maybe we should go back and watch the Hulk from this era as well, because there's a Hulk cartoon of this era as well.
Yes, there was, yeah.
Which I remember being really fucking good.
So I'd be presuming that's on Disney as well.
Must be. I don't see why it wouldn't be. Everything else is.
Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe
I'm happy to do that.
Maybe that's one for future. So
yeah. I mean, I've got to be honest. Hulk is my favorite Avenger because he's a big lumbering bastard like me.
Yeah, I mean, I can see why. But I'd be interested to watch that because again, that is a character that I still don't think we've had the definitive version of.
No, I think you're right. I mean, to be fair, I think that the version we get in the MCU from Ruffalo is quite good.
Yeah, it's excellent, but it's still not quite right.
Yeah, I think because we haven't been able to have the Hulk movie. No, we haven't had a Hulk movie apart from the ones that came before the MCU was MCU. Because we haven't really had that, and we've not had the chance for Bruce Banner to be really fucking introspective and sort of the whole thing of what being the Hulk is. That's the problem, is that we get these little snippets in Avengers and in Thor Ragnarok, but we don't get enough time to explore that character with that character, so it's very difficult to care.
Yes, yeah, it is.
And I think you're right. I think we need an absolute definitive version of that character to really send that home.
Yeah, we do. So maybe that's worth rewatching. But But certainly, as far as this goes, like, there's nothing really wrong with it, is there? That's the thing. Like, the writing is shoddy at times, but that's the source material, which was, 30 years old by the time this is coming out.
Yeah.
So there's issues there. The performances are fine. The animation is fine. I'm just rubbing up against the tone, I guess, is what it is. I'm rubbing up against the tone of it.
I've got like
wrong.
I really like the aesthetic, actually, especially where you get the cityscapes and stuff. That type of thing.
It looks
great.
Looked
brilliant. I really appreciated that, and listen, the fact that they've gone out, and I was doing some very little reading, but some reading earlier on, and they actually sent the animators out and said, right, this is happening in Times Square. Go fucking draw Times Square. Everyone knows what Times Square looks like, so you need to make it look, okay, we'll colorize it and make it, and stylize it the way they show it and everything, but go and draw Times Square. Go and draw the Brooklyn Bridge or the Washington Bridge or what. Go and do that. Go and do Washington Square Park with the arch. Go and do Brooklyn. All this sort of stuff. And it's like, well, we're here. Go fucking do it, because at least then we've got something to hang on, and it looks absolutely beautiful. And then, and if you would say, if you would take it forward now and again, if you were making this, it would be very easy to make it, to keep it looking like New York, or even if you were doing it live action, and say, right, okay, well, it can still look, we can still use these angles, we can still even colorize it slightly to make it look like this, and it wouldn't feel out of place, it wouldn't feel wrong. No. Because they've done such a good job. Whereas you look at some of the other things, and they're all generic buildings. You're in New York, so they're generic skyscrapers. There's nothing that makes it stand out. Whereas this, they've actually gone, right, we're in New York. New York, people talk about certain shows and certain films, Sex and the City being one of the prime examples, that the city is a character. There's so many things about the city that tie into who these people are and their lives and their events and all the rest of it. And they lean into it here as well. You have these galas and these balls and this stuff at museums and all this sort of stuff. They're leaning into the culture of New York, which you don't really get anywhere else.
Yeah, that's fair. And that is something, again, that, the Marvel Universe at large is, New York's a huge part of it. And again, this is the in there, isn't it?
Yeah.
But yeah, it does look great. I think not just in the design of the buildings of the city as well, but the costumes and the colors as well. These are still like how a lot of these characters look to me.
Yeah.
In my head, even though they've been adapted since, and there's undoubtedly cooler versions of the Spider suit out there. Again, you see like the Iron Spider and stuff like that. It looks really, really cool.
Yeah.
But if someone says Spider-Man to me, the first thing I think is this version of Spider-Man.
Yeah. And actually, when I was playing I played through the Insomniac games again, and I redid the first one. And the first thing I did was put this mod on, so I had this suit.
Yeah, because this is what it looks like. And again, the suit from that game,
it looks dodgy as fuck.
It does, because the suit from that game, again, is really cool, with a big white spider on it and stuff. That's a really cool suit. It looks much better, but that's not what the character looks like to you, is it?
Yeah. That's it. And I mean, I put this one on, and the problem I had was that because everything else is done to be hyper realistic, and you got all the shading and stuff like that, and the way that the buildings are done, the way the physics work, that suit then doesn't work because it looks like a cartoon, and it looks a bit like Roger Rabbit. They've just stuck an animated cell over a bit of celluloid.
I did the same thing with the Arkham games, and it was funny for about 30 seconds.
And then it's just really annoying.
This just doesn't work. This just looks fucking terrible now.
I mean, the only time I did enjoy with the Arkham games, actually, I did it with a car. I had the Adam West Batmobile.
Yeah.
That was fucking hilarious, because when you're using the weapons, and obviously there's nowhere for the guns to come from, but it's still firing rockets and shit. That was brilliant. But the skin for the actual character was really annoying.
It's fucking terrible. But yeah, so there's the Spider-Man. It's still, Doc Ock still looks like Doc. He's always a big rotund guy in a green suit and specs to me because of this. Yeah. And yes, these are designs lifted straight from the pages of the early comics. So it makes sense that they would be this iconic.
Yeah.
But there's a tendency, as we know, the MCU tends to skew pretty close, but they tend to more kind of homage the comic designs. Whereas it's nice to just, and X-Men's the same as well. When you look at the X-Men show, and it's like, but that's what they look like, and that's what these characters will always look like. And again, going back to X-Men, Cyclops will always be in blue to me. Wolverine will always be in yellow.
Yeah,
like that's how they're supposed to look.
Yeah. And I mean, to be fair to the first X-Men movie, they did kind of play. No, they made a joke out of it, didn't they? About with the leather suits and what you expect in yellow spandex. So it's one of those that you get these sort of nods and winks every now and again. And that's something that has been, it's been done throughout the Marvel universe and the MCU and stuff, and that's all fine. But yeah, I mean, I think that you're right. Well, like when you look at you look at sort of the later iteration, that's not what Spider-Man. Certainly not what Rhino looks like. I mean, you go to the
No.
you go to the Insomniac game and you look at Rhino and you think, okay, that's a fucking tank. That's what the character is supposed to be.
Yeah.
But that's not what he looks like. He looks like a dude in a dodgy Halloween costume.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like he's got a fucking unicorn costume on or something.
Because that's what he's supposed to look like to us. You know, Kingpin's the same. He's supposed to look like Kingpin looks in this, in the big white suit, and just look like a fucking sumo wrestler.
Yeah, that's. I mean, to be fair, when you get him at the start of the Insomniac game, the first one, I didn't think he was that bad actually.
No.
I thought the design on him was pretty good.
Yeah, but again, like they all just look like this show to me, and I think they always will, because it's definitely cemented. In my head. It's just that now rewatching it, I don't think I ever need to rewatch it again. I think I'm done with this show. I think I'll probably watch a few more, and I'll cherry pick what ones I want to watch, much like you mentioned. I want to see the Blade one, for instance. I want to get to that. But yeah, I don't think I ever need to watch it again. I just don't think it's good enough. I don't think it's bad. I just don't think it's good enough, given the amount of superhero content that's out there and the amount of Spider-Man content that's out there now.
Well, it's only this morning they've announced another trilogy with Tom Holland through Sony.
Yeah.
So we're going to get a lot more Spider-Man, and it's, unless they really fuck it up, it will just push this one further down the pecking order.
Definitely, absolutely. So yeah, it's fine. This is fine. This show is fine.
I mean, I enjoyed watching. I for the most part I enjoyed watching it back. So I did have issues, but for the most part, it was better than work. Which, let's be fair, The Hurt is better than work. But I was quite happy to sit here and watch it for a couple of hours. And it's not one as I've got every 2 minutes. Oh fucking hell, why have you done that? Oh no, that's rubbish. You can't do that. I was sitting here going, yeah, that's fucking Spider-Man. That's what Spider-Man looks like. That's what Spider-Man does. That's what he sounds like. He sounds like a knobhead.
Yeah, and I think it also probably hasn't been helped that it's come off the back of a pretty exceptional run of shows that we've watched on here. Like a lot of the stuff we've watched on SMPD recently has been incredibly good.
Yeah.
And we mentioned this on a few other things that we watched recently as well. Like Gargoyles is still a very high bar. We had Moo Meister on here recently as well. I thought that was excellent. Yeah. So we've had some very, very good shows recently. And I think especially, when we've within the last 6 weeks or so rewatched Gargoyles, which is another action serial. Like this, like this night and day. This doesn't even come close to the quality of that. I think watched it more removed, maybe it wouldn't seem so bad.
And I think to be fair to that, that was its own thing. Whereas this is trying to be something else. This is trying to be a comic book on speed. And
it is, but they're still both kind of action serial cartoons.
They are. But I think, I've been having this issue recently. I'm just about finished with the new book, and I struggle, and we've discussed this before, jumping between formats and jumping between like going from writing scripts to writing, or going to writing a novel. There are ways you look at it, and writing scripts for a television arc as opposed to writing for a film.
Mm-hmm.
Your timing is different, your pacing is different, and trying to get all these things right. And if you're adapting something, it becomes infinitely harder because you're adapting something from one style and one format to another, and it doesn't always necessarily line up. I mean, your first act in a novel isn't going to follow your. It's not going to be one and done by 24 minutes. Your inciting incident has to come in a lot earlier because even though you've got essentially a blank page and you can do what the fuck you like with it, you can't leave it until, I don't know, like 15% of the way through the book before you start. Whereas with a film, you can. So it's that type of thing. And that's where Gargoyles would have that benefit because they're writing something saying, right, blank canvas, these are the beats you have to hit for a show. Let's fucking hit them. And these are the beats we need to hit for a season arc and for a 3-season arc. This is where we need to be and when. Whereas if you're saying, right, okay, we're taking, I say the symbiote suit arc from the comics, trying to turn that into 3 episodes of a TV show, you're never going to line up with where you need to be. So your pacing is always going to be wrong. And then you try and fix that, and then trying to fix it, you end up fucking something else.
Yeah.
And I think this is why this doesn't stand up to things that have been specifically written, because they haven't done the work. Same as we sort of with a lot with Game of Thrones, on Game of Thrones. They haven't done the work to adapt it. They've just gone, right, this is what we've got. Let's do it. And it was the same. I used this quote when we did Game of Thrones as well. Is David Selznick when they bought the rights to do Rebecca with when Hitchcock was doing it. They were asked about who was going to come in and write the screenplay, and he was quoted as saying, "We've bought Rebecca. We're going to make Rebecca."
Yeah. And
it sparked this whole thing about adaptation and what an adaptation was as opposed to what a remake was, and a reformatting. And that was in the 40s, maybe possibly 50s. He said that.
Yeah.
And we're now fucking 60, 70, 80 years removed. I don't do maths or something like that. But we're a long way removed from that. But that's an argument that still goes on. And I remember when I did my degree, I did an entire module on textual adaptations. Because it's a debate. I mean, that was fucking 20 years ago, which I really don't want to admit. But that's a debate that's still going on now. How faithful you have to be, to still call it the same product. But at the same time, how much work do you have to do to make the same product viable in another format? And this, for me, unfortunately, was an example of how not to do it.
Yeah, exactly. Because I think that's the key word. I don't feel like this is viable in this. This adds nothing. There is no reason for the show to exist.
Yes.
So, at the time, yeah, of course, it was selling fucking toys and pulling viewing figures in.
Yeah.
But
and to be fair, it probably did up the readership as well. Marvel was on its arse at this point.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's that, if nothing else, as well. It would have brought some coin into a company that was absolutely on Skid Row. But looking back at it now, historically, is this something that needs to be preserved? Is this something that even we really need to be doing this podcast on? The answers no. I don't think there's any cultural value in this whatsoever anymore. I think this is just a product of its time, just like the ones of the 70s and the 80s were before it. This is a thing that can just be kind of cast aside and forgotten because we've got much better versions of this story. And that's sad, but that's true. I think that's how I feel about it. I'm sure there are people out there who consider this a fucking holy text. And
quite possibly.
More power to you. You do you. If you love it, then it'll always be there for you. If you love it that much, I'm sure you've got on DVD, and hell, now it's on Disney Plus as well. So it will always be there for you. It's never going to go anywhere.
Yeah.
I just think for the majority of people, I don't know what the benefit is in this. I really don't.
And that's the thing. I mean, you touched on it there. That the whole, if you're going to do something like this, you want to add to you need to be adding to the legacy of the products.
Yeah.
And this doesn't do that. This just kind of goes, well, you've read it and you liked it, so we'll put it on TV, but we won't do anything with it. We'll just put it on TV as is. They'd have been better off just putting the storyboards and then you work your way through.
Yeah, I mean, Marvel did that for a period there as well when DVDs first came out, and they were fucking awful. They did those motion comic things, and they were fucking dreadful. I don't know whose idea that was, but I'm glad they died a fucking death.
I only have one of those motion comics. It was fucking horrendous.
Netflix went mad for them when they first came out. Netflix was absolutely bombarded with those things.
Yeah,
and they were
cheap.
Fucking abysmal. Well,
very cheap. They're cheap to make, so which means they're cheap to buy. And you chuck it on. It's got Marvel on it. People will watch it.
They're fucking.
And that was kind of the theory.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean that's a different discussion for another day, I think.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think as far as this show goes, I think we're kind of there. I feel like we haven't really talked about it in much depth, but that's because I feel like it's as shallow as a fucking puddle.
Oh yeah, I was going to say. I mean, there's nothing to analyze with it. I mean,
no.
And I feel like we may have come across as overly negative. I enjoyed watching it yesterday.
So did I. I did not enjoy it.
And I think that's the thing is that it's sort of the peace sign on a war helmet. It's the duality of man type thing. It's good, and there were bits I liked, but also there are bits that are fucking awful, and I really didn't like. And it's finding that balance and finding where to come down on it, I think was the issue.
Yeah, and again, for me, it just always comes back to, if I want more Spider-Man content,
this ain't it.
I'm never going to reach for this. I'm either going to grab those books, play the game, watch the fucking Tom Holland films.
Yeah.
I'm certainly not going to reach for this. And if I want animated content, Into the Spider-Verse. What?
And to be fair, before watching this back, I probably would have lent into this and gone, you know what? This is my Spider-Man.
So would I. If I was feeling real hankering, like I want to watch some Spider-Man, I wouldn't have gone to any of those films. Now, I've got them all. Got all the Spider-Man films behind me here. I wouldn't have gone for any of them. I'd have gone,
Yeah.
let's watch the cartoon. That's what I really want to watch.
Yeah.
I won't again.
No, that's it. And I think that possibly more than anything else, that's what's disappointed me is that, as you say, it's not anything really.
No, but it does have a fucking amazing theme tune.
It does, and it may reappear in an episode quite soon.
Yeah, probably will, because it is fucking amazing, that theme tune.
Yeah.
It's 90s as you like, but
yes, absolutely. I mean,
good.
to be honest, we talked about when we did Power Rangers, the theme tune for that as being probably the most 90s thing ever.
This is up there with that.
This is right up there. This is kicking in the balls and saying, look, you ain't all that, Power Rangers. Have a bit of this.
Yeah, screaming guitars, digitized voices, like everything you want from the 90s.
Yeah, this is my childhood.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, as soon as I heard that fucking theme tune, like that gave me the nostalgia hit, if nothing else did.
Yeah.
So it was worth it for that.
Yeah, definitely, I agree. But as we've said, we may be in a minority on this, and I mean, I know from speaking to people this week and telling them this is what we're doing, people are very excited about this show. So the fact that it's now on Disney Plus and people have gone, it's on Disney, I can watch it again. Fucking hell, and that's a good thing.
Sorry, everyone.
But if you disagree with us, if this is still the best fucking Spider-Man around, and this is what you want from a Spider-Man, hit us up, let us know, because I mean, this is the whole point of us doing the show, is that we want to know what people think. We assume people want to know what we think. That's why they listen, all three of them. So yeah, get in touch. We'd love to hear from you on any discussion to be had. We'll have it. You can get in touch with us on Twitter at SNPDPod. You can go to our website, ddpodcast.net, where you can also get our previous episodes and other shows. On Facebook and YouTube with the Verbal Podcast Network. So like and subscribe and all that nonsense on there. Wherever you get your podcasts from, like, share, subscribe, leave a message, and we'll get back to you as best we can. But until next time.
See you later.